Silence. Is the silence uncomfortable? Some silences are very powerful and some are not peaceful. And some silences make you feel very uncomfortable. And sometimes silence can also be a warning sign for a storm that's going to be coming. I'm Viji Hari. I specialize in preventing sexual harassment at workplaces, and I'm here to share about the patterns that I've observed in over 200 plus cases that I've handled of sexual harassment at various workplaces across India. And I'm not here to talk about the perpetrators, but I'm going to be talking about the silence of the victims, silence of the witness. Let me ask you all a question. How many of you here, I want a show of hands, at some point in your life have come across a discriminating remark, a bullying boss, a joke that was on you, or that uncomfortable touch or an unwanted stare? Statistics shows that close to 40% of people around the world go through bullying, harassment, and 1 in 7 of the victims come forward to report it. Silence again. And for women, it's much harsher. In my workshops, I've asked this question to the audience, and 90% of women would come back and give me an answer saying, I'm a victim of sexual harassment. Ask this question to any women in your family or in your friend circle. They all would say that, yes, at some point of time, I was harassed. Maybe an e-teasing, or stalking on social media, or the unwanted touch in a public transportation, or even our homes and neighborhoods are not that very safe. But thankfully, our workplaces are not that bad. Our workplaces are not as bad that 90% of women go through harassment. Again, in the decade of surveys that I have done, 8 to 10% of women in workplaces do undergo sexual harassment. Less than 1% of them report it. Silence again. It's only less than 1% who come forward to speak up what happened to them. And this silence is what gives strength to the perpetrators and keeps creating an unsafe work culture. Let me share a real life case that I handled a few years ago, very much in Chennai, in an IT firm. I was doing a workshop on sexual harassment awareness, and at the end of the workshop, I invited the audience to share their experience of sexual harassment through an anonymous activity. At the end of the activity, I received 3 incidents which was alarming, unusual. I read them and I immediately escalated it to the HR head, and we regrouped all the women employees because the complaint was from women employees. We regrouped all the women employees. After 2 hours of pep talk and motivational talk and trust building, the women spoke up. And they all gave a written complaint. 26 people gave a written complaint against one perpetrator. Imagine 26 people against one. And the harassment was happening not just for 1 month, but for 5 years. And all the 26 women kept quiet. The silence was the power that protected the perpetrator. Not just the silence of the victims, but the silence of the witness as well. And the perpetrator was a senior person who was responsible for hiring women, training all the freshers, and after the training period, he was responsible for making them as a permanent employee. That position, that power was being misused. Not just 1 year again, but for 5 years. I went about asking the victims, why were you all silent? Multiple reasons that the victims gave. Ma'am, I didn't know that I could even report this. I didn't know that people will trust me. I didn't have any evidence. None of the witnesses came in support of me. What if the person does something outside the office? And one of the naive excuses that I've heard is that, ma'am, if I complain, the perpetrator will lose his job. He has a family to take care. They are willing to even suffer, but not let the perpetrator to suffer. So are the victims alone to be blamed for their silence? What about the witnesses? Why didn't the witnesses even speak? Why didn't they come to the rescue? The don't care attitude. Not my problem. Maybe someone else will handle it. What if I get into trouble? That was the witness mindset. What about the organization? Why didn't the organization create stronger reporting mechanisms? And why didn't they call out zero tolerance? More trainings. Last but not the least, even the society has failed. The stigma that the society has created. You must have done something wrong. You must have instigated the perpetrator. Victim shaming, victim blaming. So it is a collective silence of victim, witness, organization, and that of the society. We have a long way to go to change this mindset. The impact, so silence has been the invisible right here. And to look at the impact the organization had, the visible impact, though it doesn't happen slowly, it happened over a period of time. Organizations do not collapse overnight, they decay over a period of time. The repeated silence, which created unsafe work culture, has led to people resigning silently and going away. Perpetrators becoming powerful and they stay in the organization. The others who are there in the organization, they lose trust in the organization. Bad mouth, people who leave the organization, they give bad Google reviews, bad Glassdoor reviews, resulting in loss of business as well. Organizations that don't create a safe work culture will definitely fail. And here, when I say organizations, I'm not just talking about organizations in the government institutes, colleges, any workplace, they all have to be creating a safe work culture. After the case of 26 victims, we handled it. The perpetrator was immediately terminated. One of the earliest victims, she came and told me and said something that stayed with me for long. She said, Ma'am, wish I had spoken sooner. I could have saved 25 other women from going through the trauma. It has left a deep mental and physical trauma for us, a deep scar which will not go away easily. I could have saved the 25 women. That is the impact of silence, which could have been avoided easily. And the worrying pattern that I have noticed is that this was not a one-off case. In over 200, 300 cases that I've handled, in the last 2 years alone, I did a map and 20 cases have seen this pattern repeat. Patterns ranging from 5 victims to even 20 victims. Summons ranging from sexting, sexual favors, unwanted stare, double meaning jokes at workplaces. Not leaving the women alone. Again, in some cases have happened, 1 year it has continued to even 8 years victims have kept quiet. And this silence is what has given the strength to the perpetrators and the impact to the organization that is there. Remember, if we do not break silence, it will continue to create unsafe work culture. And one victim, one witness silence is a strength to the perpetrator, which will keep creating many more victims. History remembers the voices. It does not remember the silence. The voices of Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, B.R. Ambedkar, Greta Thunberg, Malala Yousafzai, Chinmayi Shripada, our own singer, hashtag MeToo movement, the amount of women who came forward and spoke about it. Different generations, different countries, different struggles. But all these voices resulted in a cultural shift, a mindset shift. And that is what is the power of voice, power of speaking up. So, dear friends, if you are a victim, speak up. If you're a witness, report it. There are multiple ways to speak up and confront and report. Break the silence and create an safe, happier, and better work culture. I'm Viji Hari. Thank you.